All right, so like how far back should we go? I teach at Hobart William Smith Colleges. I'm a faculty member in our Department of Gender, Sexuality, and Intersectional Justice. And this all started for me because I teach a class on Chicana feminism and visual culture. I have my PhD from UC Berkeley. I grew up in California, surrounded by the amazingness of the Chicano mural movement.
Yeah.
And all of that. So, in this class that I teach every other fall, I have my students study the mural movement, and they do a project where they are proposing murals for somewhere in Geneva, either on campus or in the city itself. And it's been a great project. Like students work together and produce really amazing ideas.
Hmm.
And it's so fun, but I found myself being like, I have always admired murals. I love them. And I think that they're incredibly powerful tools for social change and community building, but I've never actually made one or participated in a mural process at all. And somewhere along the line, I was introduced to Victor, who has actually done that work, right? So it started when I invited Victor to come speak to my class, just to give them a like, okay, so here's, we were talking about it theoretically and they're doing these proposals, but here's what actually goes into it and what the experience is actually like. And from there, Victor and I just started talking more about murals. And HWS started a new program. I think this is about to be its fourth year for incoming first year students called Spark. And it's a basically 48-hour project where faculty and staff can lead first year students in a small group to do any kind of project or explore any kind of idea, roughly for 48 hours. And this seemed like a perfect opportunity to do something. So Victor and I proposed a mural spark. So we basically had like 20 students that were ours to work with for a period of 48 hours. And we were given a shed by HWS. They didn't trust us with a wall, so they gave us a shed. And I was able to hire two student interns to work with me. And so over the summer, Victor and I, Victor's other collaborator, oh my God,
Yeah,
my
Bernadette.
brain is Bernadette, thank you. I was like, I kept thinking Colette, which is obviously not her name. Bernadette helped us out too. We designed a mural and, prepared this shed and created something beautiful, I think. It was certainly a huge learning process for us. Many mistakes were made, but also we produced something cool and colorful and it adds something different to campus and it was a really cool experience. We decided to do it again the next year. It was a much more manageable thing. But this time we painted on wood panels that were installed above the library. But we certainly went through it with HWS. We wanted to paint some pretty political messages across some speed bumps across campus. Campus wanted nothing to do with that. So we toned down our message significantly and painted some, migrating butterflies above the library. But we kind of decided like campus is great, but a bit constraining, and maybe we wanted to make a bigger impact. So this last year, with Cori's help, we painted a mural in an alleyway in downtown Geneva. This project was not the one we had intended. We went through a whole bunch of ups and downs with funding. And our original project didn't happen. We pulled this one together kind of last minute, but we worked with local youth through Ontario County Youth Works to hire them to be a like little mural crew, and we kind of pulled it together on pretty low budget in collaboration with a local group called Blueprint Geneva. And that was really cool. It was not what we originally wanted to do though. But this summer I think we have the funding to do what we wanted to do, which is work with Haudenosaunee artist Jojo Galbran. We have a wall across from a cafe in Geneva to execute her vision. And we're trying to figure out how that project is going to come together. But the long and short of it is Victor has a nonprofit called Geneva Rising Arts Foundation, and our little group, which we've called PACT, Public Art for Community Transformation, is just hoping to regularly paint murals in and around Geneva. Add some color, tell some stories that aren't being told visually in our area, and trying to figure out how to do that. Like the funding ups and downs were felt really extreme and were really hard. So we're hoping to get something a little bit more stable. I feel like we also are trying to figure out how to collaborate more effectively with the community. And not just be like, we want to paint and put what we want on, but to figure out what is going to serve Geneva. Um, yeah, does that, how'd I do, Victor and Corey?
Yeah, no,
Where
no,
did I
that was
leave it?
great. Like I could jump in a little bit.
Please.
If we could just keep talking and you could keep listening. Hello, I don't, we're gonna just dominate for a little bit, but
Sure.
hopefully give you a good sense of where we're coming
Love
from.
everything you're saying. So,
Okay, cool, great. Yeah, first off, so I grew up in Boston. I was part of like a mural crew program in the city of Boston, working with youth. So I did that for 5 summers as a teenager. So coming to Geneva way back in 2005, I've always dreamt of doing this here in Geneva, of kind of establishing a program working with youth, um, as a collaborative like nature where the teenagers get paid. We're empowering kids to be to taking more pride in their community and yeah, like eventually having a couple crews was always my dream, where we start with one and we could just slowly grow it. Um, we're still in the works. We've started the nonprofit, but this is so last summer was like just difficult because the constraints of working on the nonprofit as well as trying to do the murals. We're a little bit more structured now with the nonprofit. Um, and the city of Geneva, we're slowly getting there. They had a public art committee that I was part of way back in 2016, and it ended unfortunately in 2020 with the pandemic. So that's something that's just starting to come around again. And these conversations, I think we're contributing to those conversations because they're seeing a need for a committee because of that. Um, I don't always believe in the necessity of having, a city overlooking, that we have to have, guidelines and have a proposal to put forward. We've spoken with the group in Rochester a little bit wall therapy 2 summers ago. And I know Rochester doesn't have, kind of more city regulations like on that, as far as we understand. But so we're trying to navigate that with the city and yeah, that was yeah, that was your friend Amy that put us in touch or like just recommended that I like reach out to you. And she's been a powerful force in the city of Geneva and um we're desperate for change in Geneva and she's part of this very positive change. So I'm very glad that she's really being engaging in all fronts to make Geneva a better place to be. Um, yeah,
yeah, we need it everywhere, everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
With all
No,
the
and it's
change, we've got a complicated world. So,
yeah.
yeah. And how about for you, Corey? What's your piece of the puzzle to share about all this?
So I'm from Los Angeles and I'm part of the Posse program, which is like a national scholarship that sends like groups of students from like different cities. There's one in Los Angeles, one in the Bay, one in Chicago, one in New York, and they send them to different like schools. They sent me to HWS, and one of my Posse cohort members, she worked with Michelle. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, when we did the library mural,
Yeah,
yeah.
the butterfly mural. And she was like, Corey, you're an artist. Can you help come up with designs? That was when it was at the speed bump section of like that's at that kind of um iteration of the mural. So I helped with that. And then um as I kind of got more involved with that process, they're like, do you want to come to campus early and like kind of help us paint? And so I came and helped paint the butterfly mural and then I reached out to Michelle right before, like around the time um, the next year, so I could be a part of this because I thought it was really cool. And so this past summer, from July into the beginning of the start of the fall semester, I helped Michelle and Victor with this mural and all of the faces of it. So
Mm,
yeah.
great.
I say in this semester, Corey's about to graduate, and we thought that we would put together an independent study for her to talk about like how do you organize an arts nonprofit? How do you get funds? We're learning this out together, right? So it's like an independent study for Corey, but it's also learning for Victor and I too. So that's kind of where we are in this phase and really thinking about how can we learn from other folks who are doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, like in order to kind of grow this long term and hopefully, like create like an established program here that exists for years to come.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll show you. my timeline with it all. Early 2000s. Um, I joined the co-counseling community, and their number one goal in the wide world was about ending racism and free internet, social media. Um, I went door knocking and just knocked on the doors of some community members, community leaders, and each one of those community leaders would, I'd say, I'd talk with them about like what's going on in Ithaca about the racism here and ending racism here, the liberation work, and we'd talk for a while, and then I'd say, who do you recommend I talk with next? And they would send me to the next person. I'd go knock on their door or call them up and say hello, and I met this amazing network of people. Joined the Multicultural Resource Center board, but joined specifically related to this is I joined a group of people working to change our main street to Martin Luther King Jr. Street, which was an initiative inspired by 17 and 18-year-olds at our local high school. And so they came up with this idea. And when it took longer than they thought it would take, a group of us adults got together to support their vision and make it happen. And it took 4.5 years for
Oh my
that
goodness.
of pushing. But what was amazing is it inspired a community-wide dialogue in our newspapers about people writing in editorials of for and against, and just this conversation on what's happening in our community and our values and what should we do, which was amazing. And then this also coincides, Michelle, you mentioned the Latin American street art and stuff. I visited California and saw the Mission District there and was wowed by Precita Eyes and all the amazing graffiti and murals in the alleys and the power of street art for resisting white supremacy and gentrification and like just doing that part of that resistance and vision, that creativity in the streets. And my partner at the time said, Caleb, why don't you organize a mural? And I said, oh, sure, I'll try that. And that was 2010, our first mural here, organized by the Public Art Commission at the time, which also no longer exists. Victor, you can relate. But the was honored the Underground Railroad, and I saw with Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and a map of the Finger Lakes, and I saw, oh my gosh, saw the impact that made, and was like, okay, let's try that again. And then we did electrical boxes, and then we did on and on and on and on, and now it's 16 years later, and we've done about 400 murals or electrical boxes or anything in now in the 16 years. So most of
It's
that I
amazing.
volunteered, and a lot of people volunteering and artists being underpaid and volunteering as well. Um, doing a lot, but I volunteered for the first 10 years, 12 years or so, and then it's just the last few years that I lost my job during pandemic, put my unemployment money into artists, or paying artists to make artwork with that money, um, and then figured out like, okay, how can I make this sustainable for myself and turn this into a job and um, be able to focus on this even more full time. And so now we joined Center for Transformative Action is our nonprofit overhead. And now we have an advisory board and all kinds of structure. But so now we're doing about 40 to 70 murals each year. And can of worms. And it's a beautiful
Wow.
mess. And it's incredible for where it's now part of Ithaca's reputation as being a destination place, for arts, and like good and artist community, where it's always been, strong in the arts. But I think right now, because of the visibility of the murals, it's in everyone's faces.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that going back to that from the beginning about addressing racism and systems of oppression in our community is how the murals work. They work. And also, if it didn't work, then I'd be doing something else. I'd be engaged in parks or in schools or in the and an art teacher in the classroom, in the middle schools, or I don't know what. But the power of art in the streets, I'm really seeing like how it impacts the culture and builds social movement, like inspires imagination of change, even just that our community can change, and that people can have a hand in being part of that change in these little puzzle pieces of these little projects. But it's like one and one and one and one, and they've built up to be this massive culture shift in our community. And if we didn't pay attention to power dynamics, we'd have a lot of white men with spray cans approaching us to do projects. And love white men, I'm one myself, but like, how do we be unapologetically centering people of color, marginalized people of all kinds, working class people, young people, for, like one of you said, like, to facilitate, just facilitating, and other people getting to decide what our community looks like.
Yeah. That sounds complicated. How exactly does that happen? Like, how do you like get to um yeah, is it that committee that's part of it, that your advisory committee that kind of like helps determine what artists get chosen and what murals get painted, or
Um,
who gets to be part of that process?
I like hosting juries, like um, pre-pandemic, we were announcing small bits of funding, and then having those juries at Southside Community Center, which is an Afrocentric community center, or um, and so them deciding, and I step out of the voting. I help facilitate, but I don't like deciding, because I don't want the town to look like I did it.
Yeah.
I want every project to be different and have it be really other people's voices and decisions. So that's a great example of partnerships with community centers. Um, we'd print out all the submissions and put them around on the walls, and have people vote yes, no, maybe on each proposal, and um, and then tally up the votes, and then see how many we could fund, and then use, sometimes we'd have 20 applications, we'd had funding for 3 of them, but then we had all these images and people's bios and just a package all set up, where then it was like, okay, let's go to this bar and see if we can, they will sponsor, $500 in order for one of these to happen. But also, and then also all the applications and their imperfection, all over, like, the how do we puzzle, what are the puzzle pieces they're missing? Some of them didn't have a location, some of them didn't have needed ladders, or just how do what do we do to match with people? And so sometimes it was also showing those different images to homeowners or nonprofits, or things like, which one of these would you like on your wall, and we can figure that out, by any means necessary. What can we do? And
So
yeah.
then your call for images just goes out to to the community, like you posting it on, I don't know, social media,
Yep.
newspapers and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And how often do you put a call out? Is this like an annual thing or,
I try to
um,
do it annually.
yeah.
Been a little bit slow this year. This year I think we're gonna announce opportunities, like they were looking for opportunities to fund $500 for murals on houses within the city of Ithaca, and then a $4,000 announcement that would be for murals anywhere in rural areas outside of the city of Ithaca that are in art deserts, in areas where there isn't art already. Um, Barns and fences and sheds and businesses, nonprofits, anywhere that faces the public.
Yeah.
And just
Wow.
as for us as artists, we need deadlines. It's helpful. I learned many years ago that it would be wintertime. It'd be this time of year and be like, okay, where is everybody? We got to start planning. And so it's like, okay, I got to come up with a deadline and at least funding for one project. And then we can make an announcement. And then and then we can try to see what we can do. Um, I
Yeah.
can show you um, just a few props real quick. Um, we now have a Ithaca Murals coloring book.
Oh, so cool.
This is 3 years of Ithaca Murals calendars that we've
Wow.
done. And for those, getting sponsors on the back that pays for itself, and we sell them for $20 each, or we give them away to all the artists. So we print 300 of those each year-ish. And then we have, but yeah, giving them away to community partners, and then people have them on their walls. And then we have a guide. We used to do a map every year. That was not every year. Every few years we did a map. But it was, at this point, it's hard to keep track of everything. And there's 40 to 70 murals every year. And so it would be
Yeah.
outdated pretty quick. And it was hard for me to keep track of everything. It was a lot of work. And so now we have a guide that, so there's our electrical boxes. And so for people to explore on their own and just kind of a little taste.
And that's just on paper, not a virtual thing at all.
That one's on paper. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. We don't have that virtually yet. It should
Yeah.
be, but
No, that's
I tend to do the website designing stuff like in the wintertime, but it hasn't taken priority. I don't enjoy that as much, so our
yeah.
website's pretty outdated.
I loved what you just posted, that little postcard that you posted about what artists like, just asking for feedback from the public. Um, it was so wonderful. It's like what's a wall that you want to see painted? What's an artist that you haven't seen yet that you want to see? What's your favorite
Yeah,
mural? Your favorite political mural? That form of engagement was wonderful. And it's
we're
yeah,
going
did
to
you
the
get a lot of feedback?
Valentine Awards. So for Valentine's Day month,
Okay.
we're inviting the public to take this poll and say, like, what is your favorite mural in town? What is your favorite, um what's your favorite mural in a school? What's your favorite mural in the rural areas? What's your favorite electrical box? Just for some community engagement, stir
Yeah.
imagination, help people, give people a tool to pay attention to the different things, but also get feedback. And where do we go from here? And honor the artists that we'll give them each mugs of some things. We have a line of merch, including a lot of mugs, tons, like with hundreds of different mural images on them. So people can take the murals home with them, and then it gets the images into their homes, and it's great.
Yeah.
Things are going so well.
Yeah, so all that, the calendars, the mugs, the books, is that your board that's doing that, or is that who's
Mostly
responsible
it's
for all that?
me over the years, just little by little adding onto into the collection. Um, and now I'm paid 25 hours a week, but I put in 25 to 60 hours a week because I love doing it. I can't stop. I'm a bit of a workaholic and I enjoy it. It's not in it for the money, just and we have, in this complicated world, we need these we need something. We need lots of things. We need justice in the schools. We need justice in the government. We need people to getting out and voting and organizing for against the voter suppression. We need housing, people doing housing work. And this is just one avenue, that as for us is that identify as artists. Like, so what does justice look like within the arts? What do we, how are we useful to get justice in our communities better and better and avert a sixth large extinction on this planet?
Yeah. Have you
That's
done
all.
like celebration stuff at the end of murals, like dance celebrations or like kind of like
Mm.
protest like movements like at the end of them, or like
We've
kind
had
of just
some
gathering ceremonies?
something I love. We do some ribbon cuttings. Something I love is community paint days.
Yeah.
So that's another thing in terms of shoestring budget. I don't know where you are with things these days, but buying $500 of bucket paint and brushes and bringing it to a wall somewhere in the community and announcing to the public that the public can come out and paint and come have fun with each other. That is a really, really nice community engagement that I just see. It inspires people to, I can paint on a wall. I can, um, providing snacks and music. And sometimes those have been like plywood barriers, like what you're talking about, the library, or um, yeah, when we do pop up at a festival where we'll attach them to some baker scaffolds on wheels, um, or but also the walls in the community that where we've gotten permission to paint or haven't gotten permission to paint. Sometimes we'll do it on a Sunday morning early where we'll go out and we'll see a spot that needs some uplifting, some city property, and take the risk of, take some before pictures to say, like, in case anybody did get upset with us, to say, this is what it looked like beforehand. And maybe that looks like butterflies, what you're talking about, at speed
Mhm.
bumps. And sometimes that is a gateway. Not every mural can look like the five Haudenosaunee chiefs represented on Seneca Street, or
Mhm.
the Underground Railroad mural, um, or some of the very overtly political ones, but that they're all political. Like even the flowers that the beautiful flowers getting painted huge on a building. It helps bring that the hand touch, the humanness. Um, and so sometimes that's a way in, and yeah. And also that we can't all have our whole community can't just be heady pieces. It's um for us. But also some things like the working class, more conservative parking garage staff, and having some murals of fish and waterfalls is, some, that might be their way into noticing the arts and what it does for, the transformation. What else?
I have so many questions. This is
Sure,
amazing. I'm so
anything.
inspired by what you're doing, Caleb. It's so cool. Um, okay, so I guess one question is like if you could like go back in time and give yourself advice when you were starting off, or like what would you advise yourself, or advise us as we're kind of trying to begin this project? We're especially like, how do you sustain this? And part of that, I guess I'm wondering, is how you were able to make that leap from 100% volunteer run. We're more or less that now, just with grants that we're able to get. How were you able to transform it from something that was 100% just like a little money here, a little money there, to something that's much
Yeah.
more stable?
Well, one success that having success I mean, sometimes we were at the beginning, right? We were announcing electrical boxes and we'd say, we have $150. This was when it was the Public Art Commission, a group of us, and we'd say, we have $125 or $200 for artists to be able to transform an electrical box. Um, and now we're offering 400 and something, maybe it's $450, for artists. But it's okay. I think having a variety, even if we were doing, like, we had $300, like we were calling mini grants for you to paint a mural anywhere on a home, any, or a garage or anything, at a school. And it was just really nice small amounts of money that was like, it was like, okay, we can find this money here, we can get it. And that, so I think at this point, I think it's really great to announce something still at that amount, and say, um, and but also have, it's nice having a variety of different entryways, because people that, if you announce like, okay, we've got this wall and we're offering an artist $500 to paint this wall, there's going to be some artists that are going to scoff at that and say, oh, those jerks, Cori, Victor, Michelle, like, what the hell? Like, you're underpaying artists. What are you doing? And so the like professional artists or like experienced muralists won't do a mural for $500. But then there's going to be some people, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Victor, Michelle, Cori, like $500 to paint a mural? Are you kidding? Like, that's a lot of money. I get to be paid to paint a mural, like, and so some people, emerging artists will just be like, oh yeah, I want to do that. And so having amounts, and then on the other side of things, announcing a wall for $5,000 at a school, emerging artists won't be able to compete with people that are experienced in order to paint that wall. And so having the different amounts means it's accessible for different people. And we're not going to please everybody. We're going to upset the graffiti artists. And so we gotta figure out like how to include them in it and find walls for the graffiti artists in our communities where they can paint during the day and have permission to if they want to, and include them in the process. We've got to please the people that just want beautification and economic development and that stuff. We got to honor, a balance of also, 100 people of color, and without, and then pissing off some white people to be like, well, what about me? When are you going to do a mural announcement just for white people? Or like, it's a mess. And what we're doing is we're stirring conversation, and murals and street art ultimately isn't the goal. It's these conversations. And yeah. So thinking back to that beginning, I think there's also something about just, yeah, like getting some paint and just going out and painting. And you talked about it with young people, just saying, okay, in 2 weeks we're gonna go out and paint, and we've got to go find a wall, whether it's find someone's house and announce on social media, like, we're looking for walls to paint. Who's got a wall that we can paint? And just getting some buckets of paint together and just going out and having fun. They're all temporary. Every mural, they'll get graffiti, they'll get weathered, somebody won't like it. It's okay. It's part of it.
Yep.
No, that's awesome. I think Victor and I, so far, like, we're excited this summer that we have an artist who wants to paint and design for us, because so often Victor and I have been like, we just want to paint, and then we're kind of like, okay, and now we're designing this mural. Like this summer we tried to get our youth who were hired for us to like come up with a design, and they were funny. They were, I think, really shy, perhaps, or just not confident in what they want, or didn't know what they wanted to do. And to be fair, this was pulled together a little bit haphazardly, and that we didn't get to interview who came to work for us. They had just
Mm,
applied for any summer job,
yeah,
right? And were kind of assigned to us.
I'm
Um,
familiar.
so
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So, yeah, we ended up doing, something that I think was cool and that we all enjoyed painting. And that was powerful to me just to see community members from the business nearby, like come out. This one, woman just wanted to paint with us every day. And she lived in the neighborhood and she was amazing, right? Right alongside the teenagers. And that was beautiful, right? But I'm inspired by the idea of like really opening it up and just giving artists, whether they have any, formal art training or not, the ability to be like, whatever you want to see, like we're here to help you execute that vision. Um, that's
You're also
inspiring to
reminding
me.
me that some murals are done by young people and they look like they were done by young people and they
Yeah.
look like, and I'm okay with that. Like,
Yeah.
there's going to be some people that are right. We got these old white ladies that don't like that kind of stuff, and they want um, murals that look good, that look like somebody went to art school. That's not their language. I'll use that language, but that um, and then some that are tight and like at the Jewish synagogue, Tikkun V'Or, we have a shed that we've been painting, and 2 years ago the mural was actually partnering with a Palestinian artist who worked with the mitzvah tweens and teenagers that to uh, brainstorm and come up with a design, and then she designed it and she painted it and they assisted her. And then last year, a different artist, local Susan Eschbach, Jewish white woman, um, who worked with the young people, and they really had more hands-on, and it looks like it was done by people who don't have as much practice, you know? And advantages, disadvantages. The kids really feel connected to the one that they painted, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And whereas the other one, I think years from now, people will look at it and be like, that's an incredible mural that's with skill and stuff, but the kids felt less connected or something, that they like couldn't identify with it somehow. So who knows? It's just the good news is at the point, like the first mural, going back to the beginning of that Underground Railroad mural, where there was articles in the paper by the city historian complaining about the inaccuracy of the Underground Railroad mural and being really upset about it. And there was a lot of focus on, should it be there, shouldn't it be there? And now at this point, hundreds of murals later, it's just like, oh, I like this one, I don't like this one, and it's okay. It's like that there's something for everybody. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, where we have a free Gaza um message, free Gaza, huge, incorporated into the Underground Railroad mural now as it's been revamped 15 years later, 16 years later, that it's as part of like, what is the Underground Railroad today? And the artists incorporated that, and they incorporated Sudan and other things into that mural to think about today. What's going on? What does freedom look like? And there's people who are very upset that it says Free Gaza as part of that. And where am I going with that? Oh,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, oh, and then talking with one of them on the phone who's really upset about it. And I said, well, maybe we can meet up and maybe this mural isn't for you, but I'm going to take a guess and maybe you're Jewish and maybe this year's time for us to do a large mural honoring Jewish culture and and engaging with artists to talk about that, because and talking about the anti-Semitism and countering the anti-Semitism in our community, and like what are the beautiful parts of Judaism. And I don't know if we're going to find common ground for her and I particularly, and I think that message is very important. And we've been working with the synagogue for 3 years now. This will be the fourth year of doing a Jewish justice mural. Started with an electrical box, and then the shed, and then the shed, and we might do some other walls on the shed or on the synagogue or somewhere else in the community. But I hope we can go big at some
Yeah.
point, like they have in Oakland, where there's a 7-story mural with a Seder, and
Wow.
that we can really include that message, where we're at a point where it'd be great to honor some different white cultures,
Yeah.
specifically, as well.
I mean, this must be such a balancing act, right? And it's something that I feel is where, especially in the conversations we had with community members last year, is how do you balance like the things that you want to bring to the community that you see as missing versus like what people are putting out there, right? So like Victor and I, inspired by my students in my class, felt and still feel really strongly that we wanted an image to honor Haudenosaunee culture, right? And to work with an Indigenous artist. And, we've got that lined up. But the wall we originally wanted to paint that on last summer, and fairly so, the person whose wall we were going to use was like, that's not the story I want on my wall. Right. And she had a different story she wanted on her wall, and she doesn't really seem interested in working with us, so we're going to let her do her thing. Um, but I did spend a few moments being like, who are we to say that this is the image Geneva needs right now? If this other person is telling us that the image Geneva needs right now is actually a different message. Um, Thinking about where to push and then where to like let go.
Right.
Which is why I like the idea of inviting, the community to propose the images and the community to vote on them, as much as you can get them in the space to do that work. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, like, maybe it's really important that we come out with some sort of mission statement that's on the website that like really states, this long-term vision that we're going to have ups and downs and it's okay. And kind of following along with what you're saying. It's that this is going to be we're not going to please everyone in one summer, and that this is a long-term process and it's going to take years. And we're going to hopefully meet everyone's expectations and goals, but it won't happen immediately. And that's, I don't know. And people just have to be patient a little bit.
Corey, what do you think about things? You're quiet.
No, I'm just taking everything in and just taking notes and stuff like that. Like I'm very new to the game. Um like I joined like almost primarily as an artist from the start, so I'm kind of getting into the nonprofit aspect, or just kind of it being an entity in of itself as a community like aspect. So I'm just kind of absorbing like the knowledge you guys are dropping right now. So
And you grew up in LA?
yes, I did. I grew up in South Central. Um, and so yeah, murals were like very prevalent in like
Yeah.
the communities, and like we would have some like on campuses. It's funny, my school was like also like on Martin Luther King Boulevard, so it's a funny connection with that. Yeah, but yeah, just murals are everywhere and on highways, and like even like graffiti, like that is its own like subsect that has become like part of that public art scene. So it's been very like a big part of my life, and I always thought they were so neat. But it's just because it's so prevalent, and because or Los Angeles is so big, it's so hard to find, like a avenue into that. So like it's like almost kismet that I was able to find like an avenue into the public art world in Geneva and in Western New York. So.
I know that in my 20s, I read a book about the Great Wall,
Mhm.
an artist who transformed a huge wall. Maybe it was about the history of
Yeah.
the United States, or maybe it was the history of LA.
I think it
Through
was
the
in LA. This is Judy Baca's work,
Yes,
right? Yeah. It's so cool.
yeah, and that was part of that early inspiration at the beginning of like, oh, I see, art makes a difference. Art can, if we break out of the gallery and museum mold, the box, and out into the streets.
I just looked at it. I think I like, oh yeah, I'm very familiar with this. And there's a lot of like similar murals like that that just are just stretches of blocks and
Yeah.
almost like full highways. So that's yeah,
And
that's
as
so
I
crazy
hear,
like having a name
that,
to it.
I learned from spending time in the Mission District in San Francisco. And I think San Francisco, I think maybe learned from LA, you
Mhm.
know, from her and others, and LA learned from the Mexican, the Zapatista movement and different the Mexican impact, the power of murals on their buildings, you know, and maybe they learned from the churches in Spain and Europe that about, you know, yeah, painting on walls. And so this lineage, yeah, to bring it all to today.
Yeah. Political art.
It's
Are
amazing.
you with your grants? So do you bring up, is it, or do you feel like you're more likely with certain grants to get like awarded with political art, or are you know, do you apply
It's
to certain
definitely the
areas?
local grants, the public, no, the community arts partnership and community foundation, park foundation. There's definitely a justice leaning, like they want things that are justice oriented, um, that you know, address equity issues, Jedi issues. The Yeah, I feel like people want it, whether it's couched in a vague language of inclusion, or whether it's explicit to say, this is what we're doing equity, or, you know, like, um, but yeah, or if it's, yeah, I guess even more vague is about uplifting our community, and the
Yeah.
power of, you know, making space, you know, the creating space making within our communities, and what happens when a mural goes up and it feels it an area of the community feels alive, and then next thing we know, there's a picnic table put in front of it and people are hanging out there, and then, you know, like what happens when we activate spaces in our community.
Yeah.
And the grants we get, yeah, mostly local. We're getting state grants for the first time the last couple years, through New York State Council of the Arts, Council on the Arts, NISCA. Um, is that our only grants we've gotten outside Tompkins County? Yep. So just building slow. Sustainable Tompkins was a local grant we got early on, and yeah, for a few $100s, $700 or something, like this little
Yeah.
starting small. But also, yeah, I love getting sponsorships from businesses because there's less paperwork, you know, and but it's just asking them, you know, would you sponsor it for you know, would you put $300? And at that time, bars were making more money. You know, the economy's shaky for everybody. COVID impacted everything. And so even wealthy people are feeling squished a bit. But yeah, but I think, yeah,
Paint
getting
companies.
business sponsors is nice. And I don't like putting names on the thing. People ask, like, could we put our name on it or a logo and on the wall? And it's like, no, we'll put it on the website, we'll put it in social media. I don't want to be doing advertising or like it starts to turn into billboard looking like things. So um, sometimes it can be small, just a couple words by the signature, but I like to keep that off for the most part. Yeah. And then also in LA is, right, currently, Ernesto Urena is one of my favorite artists in LA. He studied with Shepard Fairey, Obey, for many years. I think since he was in community college, Ernesto Urena. And when you're out in LA, try to track him down and show him some love. I think he's going through some mental health stuff these days, and he's an incredible cultural organizer. Fabiana Rodriguez in Oakland has been a great influence for me on listening to her talk about the power of art and the butterflies and migration is beautiful that she's doing. Yeah, just
She was a huge inspiration in thinking about our butterfly piece, for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love her.
Working with Haudenosaunee, we did this mural by an Onondaga artist, Brandon Lazore, that I recommend working with at some point. And then he lives at the Mohawk Reservation. And right. And then we run into, the difficulties of like, I feel like I made some mistakes in those in working with them, in my sense of like, oh, I know how to do this, or I have a good ideas, and but really just that importance of learning to trust and step back, even if I think I have a good idea. I like to quiet my mind and not second guess artists or other people, because we second guess ourselves already so much. It's like, oh yeah, sure, let's try it. Let people have their own successes, their own mistakes without me meddling. And so when right, working with the Muslim community, and now we have the 5 pillars of Islam painted huge
Oh,
inside this Green Street garage here. It's amazing. Just stepping out of the way. Yeah, what do you want to do?
Awesome.
And you're all invited to come down to Ithaca, and I'll give you a free mural tour anytime.
that
Cold,
would be
cold or
amazing.
warm or rain or anything. And if you want to bring other people, um, it'd be really sweet.
That
Yeah.
would be amazing.
Yeah. No, you're not that far away. It's worth the drive.
Definitely.
We could do it on bikes in the spring, or we could do it on foot now, or anything, or on foot. And yeah, there's a lot. So
Well, we'll
what else?
definitely try to find a
Michelle,
time this semester to get out to you. That would be wonderful.
Michelle,
Yeah.
you said you had a bunch of questions. Do you have do you have another one?
Yeah, no, I think you primarily answered them. I'm just, yeah, you're getting my wheels turning about how to move forward, right?
Mhm.
Um, I feel
Yeah.
like we've had a lot of various interests and we have some ideas about how we want to proceed with the mural this summer, but one, I'm kind of rethinking some of some bits of it, and then two, just um yeah, how to get more buy-in and input from the community. I know one place that Victor and I kind of struggle is like the social media side, or the like how to advertise what we're doing. Like the one we painted this summer, we invited the newspaper out, they never showed up, right? Like we've tried to get Hobart William Smith involved. It'd be like, this is work that is happening in collaboration with the colleges, right? And they have only shown up a little bit, not really a whole lot, and not really interested in promoting things. So I think we're realizing that we have to get the word out. And then also that the art is going to get the word out on its own too, eventually, as more of it pops up and things. But yeah, that's definitely something we're thinking about as well. Um,
Yeah, I get a lot of rejection. This is part of the work, and I just like looking for the yes, and not
yeah.
trying to use it, like not trying to convince people. Some 10 people are gonna say no to their wall, and one person is gonna say yes, and we get to find the yeses. Um,
Yeah.
I learned this from my work at Southside Community Center. Um, I learned from the Black women there to stop trying to convince the white people to join the movement, or try to stop convincing people, but they said, we're on the freedom train, you can come or not, like we're going to have this fun event, and we're going to be dancing, we're going to be partying, we're going to be making art, and you can come or not. We're not trying, they're going to stop trying to convince people. And I think that really helped me. When you like, what would be the message for the early on, Caleb? It's like,
Yeah.
would be, stop trying to convince my family, or friends, or anybody. Stop trying to convince people, but do the beautiful work. And now I'm very tight with my family, and it's just like, if we shine, if you creating these murals, people will come out.
Yeah.
I'm not as much of a fan of the No Kings stuff, or it feels like a very like an anti-war movement rather than a justice movement. I
Hmm.
loved Black Lives Matter and the Occupy movement that was very much about centering on the positive, like yeah, that Black Lives Matter, that the immigrants' rights rather than an anti-ICE movement. It's like and Michelle, you've got that connection with Fabiana Rodriguez. Just the narrative. How do we stop? It's just the for me, this is only going to go so far, but this is going to be centering people. Like we know who's going to be like who should be at the mic at this rally.
Yeah.
At this rally, we get a lot of old white people that don't have other avenues to come in. And I love those rallies. And I will show up and because I want to reach out and see the different pockets of the community, but also right. I'd rather do an immigrants' rights rally
Hmm.
than a polish ICE rally. And so
Yeah.
um, I think, when you're saying like that, and looking for walls, there's somebody out there, whether it's, finding them through social media or through word of mouth or doing a place on, one of your homes. And I like what you said about the campus having some, giving some restrictions and wanting to get off campus. Um,
Yeah.
Sometimes I like painting the dumpster or
Yeah.
the thing that we can see is going to be an easy yes rather than the really nice shiny big wall that I see
Right.
over there. And then people say, Caleb, you get all the good walls, and I'm like, no, actually, it wasn't a good wall. It was the worst wall, and we made it the best wall.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful.
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was that was the beauty of the shed in some ways, right? Like we busted our butts to get that shed able to be painted, right? But then no one cared what we did with it because it was a shed, right?
yeah.
And no one was invested in like, you know, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, no one noticed it. It wasn't even something that anyone even knew existed
Mhm.
there until we painted it. And then we brought something that was hidden into the spotlight.
Yeah.
I love this idea of painting houses too, though.
Yeah.
And the neighborhood support for that and the parks that you brought up. I mean, I wonder, I don't know, I don't, there's no murals in Geneva on any homes.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, I'm thinking here of the Geneva Rising Arts. We're planning on doing a Porch Fest for the first time. We're bringing that back.
Mm.
So we actually just reached out to the Ithaca Porch Fest folks. Um, but that it was be a wonderful collaboration of just, combining Porch Fest and a house or painting someone's garage or and how that goes about. And it's yeah, working with a like an individual who owns a house is a lot easier than the city and a street and
Mhm.
it could have a huge impact too, of course.
Yeah, and in Ithaca, different places are different, but in Ithaca, if you're painting your house, you don't have to get a city permit.
Yeah,
And in painting a mural, you don't have to get a city permit unless it has something, unless it's advertising, and then it has to go through signage. And I
yeah,
try to not do that anyway. Like, um, that if it's a vet clinic, they might want to have animals in it. But what I say is to be like, I would love for this mural, even if you moved out of this building in 10 years, I would love for the mural to stay.
right.
Um, mhm.
So you do have some sort of public art committee now, like something's in place where it does, you have to go through a proposal of some sort with a permit.
Us,
Yeah,
only for signage. And
okay,
I just avoid that because I don't,
you're right.
City Hall and I had a breakup um, in 2020, and I will still work with them when they're ready to work with me. But yeah, I like on city property now, we're doing most of those are without permission
Wow.
now. And some people get upset with us. And we've also gotten awards at City Hall for some of the ones we've like the Rotary Club presented us with an award for the Miss Harmony mural that we painted under a bridge that we didn't get permission for. And people love it. It's part of it. But I also understand like that might not be something you can do yet. Now you might have to do some others before getting to that point. Because we've done about 100 electrical boxes, and half with permission and half we just show up and people assume we have permission.
Yeah, I would love to do electrical boxes. My almost 11-year-old saw a bunch of electrical boxes painted in a town we visited. It could have been Ithaca, I don't remember. But was like she really wants to do that maybe with her Girl Scout troop, is paint some electric boxes. And I'm like, this would be a great thing to like enable these kids to design and paint electric boxes. But yeah, that's a whole I'm a little overwhelmed by the by starting that, but maybe it's worth just maybe
Yes,
it's worth getting the kids in on it too.
City Hall, it might be 3 months, 6 months of permission to go through this committee and that permission, or they might just say yes. You could always just ask and start the process and just say we'd like to. You could show pictures of, I remember showing pictures of electrical boxes in Boston and in the Bay Area and in LA and saying like the other cities are doing this. Here's the precedent. And the parking garages, which are pretty dull, and they could use, they're easy yeses for us. And right, can you just get someone to say yes rather than going through months of permissions? Yeah.
I love that.
And that's where private property is really nice. Just going to a business and they love it. Businesses want that community engagement with their business.
Cool.
Well, I unfortunately have to wrap up and get going, but Caleb, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your insight and your experience and your encouragement. It means a lot.
I'm cheerleading you on, and I'm
Thank
here.
you.
You can, my number is public and you can text anytime. And I'm serious about coming down for a visit, and I should get out and come see you as well.
I'll say we would love to show you the little bit that we've done. Yeah. Yeah. And Cori and Victor, let's put our heads together and find out when it makes sense to go. But yeah, we would love that.
Sooner the better. I'm ready. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for your time.
So much.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Cal.
Good. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Let me know what's next.
Sounds great. Thanks. Take care.